And we're back after a successful night of fights at UFC 315. We made about 5 units of profit, maybe more, maybe less, slightly, but around 5 units. Really good night all the same. Hopefully, we replicate that level of success in this UFC Fight Night Burns versus Morales. We're starting off the card with Luana Pinheiro set to face off against Tecia Pennington at the UFC Strawweight Division. This is a fairly easy fight for me to predict. I believe Tecia Pennington beats her by decision. She's better in the striking by a mile, better in the clinch game for sure. If the fight goes down to the ground, she can also hold her own there. I see no path to victory for Pinheiro. The worrying part is placing a bet on it. I believe Tecia Pennington wins by decision. She wins almost all her fights by decision. She only has 2 finishes in her MMA career. However, Pinheiro is a hard fighter to predict in the way she loses. Look at the Angela Hill fight. Has Angela Hill ever gotten a submission? No. Luana Pinheiro was her very first submission victory for Angela Hill. So I lean towards a decision, but don't bet it because Tecia Pennington could just overwhelm her with the striking, make her quit on herself, and ultimately lose the fight. So Tecia Pennington to win, no bet on the fight. Next up, we go to Hyun-Sung Park, who's set to face off against Carlos Hernandez at the 125-pound flyweight division. I favor the side of Hyun-Sung Park. I think he's a much better overall fighter, but fair play to Carlos Hernandez for always being willing to step up against these undefeated fighters. Only losing to high-level fighters at that as well. But I just give the edge to Hyun-Sung Park. It's no bet, of course, because Hernandez is very capable of derailing the hype train of Park and taking his undefeated record. So Park to win, don't bet on it. Next up, we're going to Denise Gomes set to face off against Elise Reed, and it's heavily favored to Denise Gomes with good reason. I think her power is a difference maker. Her takedown defense is quite solid as well. She dominates this fight in the stand-up and gets the victory. She can get a finish for sure, but it can also go to decision. Regardless, Denise Gomes to get it done, no bet on the fight. On to the bantamweights, where we have Luana Santos set to face off against Tainara Lisboa, and this is a tough fight to predict. If it stays standing, Tainara wins each and every single time. If it goes to the ground, Luana Santos all day. Here's the thing, Tainara has trouble keeping the fight standing. That's why I see her downfall coming. I see Luana Santos getting a takedown in there and controlling her at least enough to squeak out rounds. She can work her way to a submission, but she should be able to get enough takedowns to win on the judges' scorecards. No bet on the fight. Really tough one. Could go either way, but I'm favoring Luana Santos for this one. Next up, we're going to the featherweights, where we have Conor Matthews set to face off against Yadier Del Valle, or Del Valle, however you pronounce the Cuban's name. I like the side of Yadier for this one. The question is, how does he win? Does he manage to get a finish over Conor Matthews, or does he win by decision? Leaning more towards the finish because Conor Matthews has been finished very brutally in his last fight not too long ago. He also got finished by Denis Brzezicka, who in my opinion is not really that much of a finisher. I think he makes Yadier look really good in this fight, and the odds are not worth betting on, so stay away from it. On to the lightweights we go, where we have Jared Gordon set to face off against Thiago Moises. I really like the side of the underdog on this one, placing a bet on Thiago Moises to get the victory here. Here's the thing, Thiago Moises is a really well-rounded fighter, really nice leg kicks, and very good grappling. He also trains in a fight camp with Renato Moicano and Grant Dawson, and these guys have prepared for Jared Gordon in the past, and they got a fairly dominant victory with Grant Dawson. I think they use that same game plan here, and I think Thiago Moises manages to get the victory. It's good enough odds. Don't place a bet on whether he does it by finish or decision. I think he's going to win by decision. but good enough money on Thiago Moises money line. Next up, we're going to Matheus. Camilo set to face off against Gabriel at the 155-pound division. Matheus going straight into the UFC after his victory against that contender who basically picked his spot at a press conference. Dana White invited him on stage, gave him an opportunity, and Matheus absolutely dominated him over 3 rounds. Really, really nice performance there. He's facing off against Gabe Green, who we haven't seen in a while. We haven't seen him since Brian Battle put him out cold inside the first round. Now he's moving down a weight class at 155. I think that weight class is going to kill him. It's really, really going to affect him in this fight. I just think Matheus wins this one. I think he's a much better fighter. I think he doesn't have the worry of the weight cut like what Gabe Green has. Should be an easy dub for him. No bet on it because the odds are not there. And it's a UFC debut, so stay away from it in terms of that. We're going into the featherweights where we have Julian Erosa set to face off against Melquizael Costa. I really like the side of Costa on this one, placing a bet on him as well. Here's the thing, Julian Erosa has been looking good in his fights. Not gonna lie, he has a really, really sick guillotine. If Costa is not careful when he's shooting takedowns, he can get caught in that guillotine and submitted. However, in every other aspect of the fight, I think Costa is a much better fighter. That's why I'm picking him on this one. I think he's a better striker. I think he can take the back of Erosa and get a submission. He can control Erosa on the ground and dominate to win rounds. I just see this fight going in Costa's favor. The only way I see Erosa winning is by a guillotine choke or by some kind of slick submission, which Costa should be good enough to defend himself from stuff like that. On to the middleweights where we have Nursulton Ruziboev set to face off against Dustin Stoltzfus. I see this fight going one way and one way only. Finish inside the distance, and Nursulton to be the one getting that finish. No bet because the odds are not there. There's a live chance of him getting a submission. A lot of his wins come by way of submission, but Dustin is a guy who gets cracked fairly often, so he could get finished by KO as well. If you want to sprinkle a bit, not betting it, but if you want to sprinkle, it's a little bit of value in putting him to win by submission. Moving on to the lightweights yet again, where we have Sodiq Yusuff set to face off against Mairon Santos. Placing a bet on the underdog here. I really like the side of Sodiq Yusuff. He's faced a much higher level competition. He's actually looked good in a lot of his fights as well. Even the losing ones, he's looked decent. Mairon Santos coming off a decision victory against Francis Marshall, which a lot of people, including myself, think he lost. Wasn't really a good showing, and stepping up against a guy like Sodiq, it's a step up in competition, really, really high. It may be too much for him to move from Francis Marshall to Sodiq Yusuff. I think Sodiq is fairly decent in the striking. The grappling is going to reign supreme, and he's going to get a victory. Whether it be by finish or decision, doesn't matter. There's enough value on the money line. On to the light heavyweight boys, where we have Rodolfo Balato set to face off against Paul Craig. Now, a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I think Paul Craig is going to upset Balato. But hear me out. Yes, Balato is a very hard guy to finish. Yes, Balato would have started off as a grappler. Yes, the only guy who manages to finish him is Vitor Petrino by KO. However, he's not really the smartest guy in the world. I see him pressuring Paul Craig. I see him trying to take Paul Craig down and getting caught in a submission. I see him being able to probably knock Paul Craig down. He's going to follow him to the ground, and Paul Craig is going to snatch a submission there. There's so much value on Paul Craig in this one. Yes, I could fall on my face and look like a complete idiot, but there's certainly a chance of Paul Craig winning. If Rodolfo Balato somehow miraculously shows that he has developed some form of fight IQ, I'm screwed. But placing my money where my mouth is on Paul Craig to get the dub. Moving on to the main event at the welterweight division. Back-to-back welterweight main events. How about that? Gilbert Burns set to face off against Michael Morales. Really like the side of Michael Morales here. placing a bet on him to land more significant strikes and get the victory by KO. He's a really crisp striker, and over 5 rounds, he should be able to land that killer blow on Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns is on the decline of his career. I don't see him managing to pull an upset against a guy like Michael Morales, who is a proven finisher at the UFC level. Very talented, could move to the higher ranks in the welterweight division very soon, could be challenging for the title very soon if he keeps at this rate. And this has been my picks and predictions. Now on to the ladder challenge. This has been a really tough one to pick. But I like these two fighters the most on this fight card. Thiago Moises to beat Jared Gordon, and Michael Morales to win in the main event. Once these two fighters get the job done, we should more than double our money. I'll catch you guys soon for week number 2, hopefully. Be sure to leave a like, comment, let me know what you think about the video down below, subscribe, follow me on TikTok, follow me on Twitter, support the channel on the Patreon, and I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, game time.